with a hint of apple cider vinegar to knock out the congestion, sneezing, and coughing, along with some Hall's cough drops. JR emails his professor saying that he would not be able to make it to class tomorrow because he was sick. He knows not to call his best friend Ken, because then Ken would tease him about the cool sauna incident he pulled off. 3:20 p.m. Eastern. In Frankfort, Kentucky, Jim and Claude are talking to friends Greg and Norma Sanders, who are there to follow them to Boston to cover them at the Kennedy School of Government before covering Hillary Clinton. 14 p.m. Eastern. Jim, Claude, Greg, and Jim's friend Henry Luss are playing on the 18-hole golf course. Jim had called Betsy, his wife, to say that he misses her, and that when he learned that JR was sick with a cold, and he begged Kevin Ball to make him the Hendrick family, the Swain Hendrick family recipe. 3:50 p.m. Back at the dorm, Kevin McDonald is giving JR some grape apple cider vinegar he got from John Halsey drugstore over on 21st in Memphis at St. Mary's Medical Center. JR takes a couple of swigs and passes out again. Meanwhile, his classmate Sharon shows up. She did it to him again? Didn't she? Sharon asked. Here's his tape recorder. You can type notes for him on this computer. For Dr. Kitzmiller's class, and then hand it to Jennifer for his Spanish and statistics class. More than gladly. As far as I'm concerned, JR needs to dump this Karen girl before she breaks his heart again. 7:35 p.m. Back at the dorm, JR is breathing, is slightly labored. Dr. Stacy, the psychology head of Crockett House, brings in a humidifier. I'd give anything if JR could dump this lady, Sharon said. Well, JR had me bring spaghetti for him for dinner, and he says he's in a cooling off period from Karen for a day or so. Kevin said, I'd give anything if he'd just do it. Plenty of young girls lined up at JR's door, Sharon said. 8:35 p.m. Meanwhile in Frankfurt, Jim packs his bags. He is anxious to leave for Boston tomorrow to speak at a small audience at the Kennedy School of Government, compared to Hillary Clinton's large audience at the JFK Junior Forum. November 8th, 1993. 5:55 a.m. Eastern. Jim and Clark get on a flight from Frankfort, Kentucky to Boston, Massachusetts. Which is 2 hours and 5 minutes. 5 a.m. Central. JR wakes up, his sneeze is gone, but his cough is still there. Evidently, he wasn't the only one that had this cold. Last night, he called Lynette Wilson, who said that Brad was also sick. And when with Brad sick, he doesn't go to the doctor unless cordially and sternly urged. He takes out his government textbook and studies the history of ideology. Yesterday, Tracy's, who was mentioned when it comes to the history of ideology. 5:50 a.m. Central. Kevin tells JR that they had seriously lost the soccer match on Friday, but they would make up for it next Thursday night, where they would be playing against Iowa State on the road. Kevin gives JR a dose of the home remedy medicine, grape apple cider vinegar, for his cold. 8:12 a.m. Eastern. Jim and Claude arrive in Boston, where they are greeted by a stretched limousine that would take them directly to the John F. Kennedy School of Government. 8:30 a.m. Eastern. Jim is at the John F. Kennedy School of Government, lecturing about public policy and economics in regards to small business and the link between small business and commerce. 8:30 a.m. Central. In his dorm room, JR is listening to Z102. Hathaway's What is Love comes on the radio, and JR puts down his government book to relax and listen. 9 a.m. Central. Jennifer Bowers walks into JR's dorm room to help him with the Spanish. Jennifer offers to bring JR some bok choy, but JR chooses instead to have a beef and bean, lettuce and cheese burrito wrap from the student union, if she could get it for him, which she does. 10:30 a.m. Eastern. At the Singletree Hotel near Harvard University, Jim is swimming in the hotel swimming pool. Tonight he would be speaking at the Harvard Business School. Tomorrow he was going to be speaking at Boston College at the Carroll School of Management. Wednesday he would fly to Princeton, New Jersey for a telephone conference with the Texas Railroad Commission, and then speak that night at the Princeton School of Public Affairs. Alright. 11:05 a.m. In his room, JR is listening to Andrew House pontificate about Clinton. Did any of you see Clinton's reaction to the question on Meet the Press about healthcare? Funny how he tells this as not ration care when he and Hillary are currently the jet set flying and riding in limousines all over the country promoting this bill without really looking at what the common man feels. At least Tom Brokaw and Tim Russert had the edge of going after him on health care. They didn't have to do that on NAFTA. House retorted. JR takes off his laptop and begins taking copious notes. He'd received the tape from Sharon, where Jack Phillips-Miller had lectured about ideology in healthcare. JR was floored. 11:50 a.m. JR is listening to Andrew House when his phone rings. It's his father. "You alright?" Jim asked. "Yeah, just had a little cough. A little fever." "You been taking that grape?" Grape was a mixture of 40% grape juice and 60% apple cider vinegar, with the vitamin C and the alkalizing would stop the cold and was the recipe crossing from Swain to Hendrick family. I also heard your girl slapped you. I told you that crazy mother would get in her hair. Why don't you start seeing that girl, Jennifer Bowers? That's her name, Jennifer Bowers? Your cousin tells me that she's like you. She's studying public affairs. 2 p.m. Eastern. In Boston, Jim prints out and begins reciting his speech for his in the hotel business center. Claude gives him pointers to help him further his speech. Tonight it would be about healthcare impact on small business. He'd received an email from Kevin McDonald leaving the library saying that he was coming home to look after JR. 4:20 a.m. Central. In Lubbock, JR is meeting with Dave Smith and a new friend from Spirit Club, Calvin Harlan. Harlan was a public speaking government and Spanish with JR. He'd gone down to talk to Dr. Harmon today about becoming a public affairs major. Harlan was a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints who knew Ken from visiting West Texas a few Thanksgivings. He himself was from Longview. "Man, JR, why are you going to that afternoon church service with Karen? You're perfectly welcome at next Sunday afternoon at the Spirit Club. Pastor